I'm a great fan of reconstruction. I think there are lots of things we can do to change the system, and a kind of common theme that seems to be coming through the day is the one of democratisation. Savers connected for the first time with their investments, particularly through the power of technology. I mean, my guess would be that not one pensioner in 100 could name the top 10 companies that are effectively funding their pension. And what we don't know about, we don't care about. Now, I would take a slightly different view, I think, to Bruce. I think we do need the skill set of a professional asset management industry and a banking industry. It seems to me they have a skill set that is beyond most people. But if you'll forgive the clerical analogy, I'd like to see the high priesthood of asset management reformed. The church had its own reformation about 500 years ago. The clergy's control of people's access to the source of their hopes and dreams was broken. The proceedings were demystified through the translation of the key bit of information into a language that people could understand. And rent-seeking, through the selling of useless indulgences, was banned. And the parallels for today seem to me quite stark. But I do fear that many of our good efforts and many of the great ideas that we've been talking about today look to many people on the outside, and including to those in government with the power to bring about change. Many of our good ideas, I'm afraid, look a little bit like the dot-com era of a decade ago. In other words, our good efforts look like great solutions in need of a problem to those outside. At the moment, it seems to me there just isn't enough pressure for change coming from savers. So I think many of the answers lie by going back to that issue of savers. And again, this is a common theme coming through the day. It's really savers we need to think about and savers we need to educate. First of all, I think we need to make the case far more strongly than we have done to date that social and environmental considerations are the bedrock of financial success. We do now know that a homeowner defaulting on a subprime mortgage in Detroit can destroy the economy of Cyprus. We do now know that burning carbon in China causes global warming in Russia, and that causes soft commodity speculation in Chicago, and that causes food riots in Egypt. So it seems to me that in our universities and business schools, we need to abandon scientific and social reductionism and embrace instead holistic analysis. But let's also not forget that good old-fashioned concept which I grew up with, known as business goodwill. You may know that I think it's around 70% of the value of the FTSE 100 is represented by things that don't exist. In other words, value above net assets. It seems to me that goodwill, in other words, the value of relationships with customers, suppliers, society, starts moving towards zero pretty quickly these days with the power of the internet and social media. I think companies are beginning to wake up to the fact that goodwill in the modern era is quite a fickle asset. So let's make the use of that. But I think too, as well, there are a couple of Goliaths that we need to slay. And again, one of these has been mentioned, and this is that the maximisation of financial return commensurate with risk should be our aspiration. It's that strategy, if that strategy is followed by all of us, which at the moment it mostly is, then surprise, surprise, that's the only message transmitted through the markets to companies. And the result is inevitable sooner or later, and not just in the banking industry. The result is scorched humanity as well as scorched earth. So really it's about what is it that we value in life? Do we value something other than financial return? The other Goliath in need of a slingshot seems to me to be that investing is a science. I often go to investment management houses and they proudly display in their front receptions some kind of strapline that says, we are on top of the science of investing. It seems to me that leads to a very false conclusion that that investment, a little bit like science, is some kind of amoral space which you can exist in with your eyes tight shut and responsibility avoided for environmental and social implications of your decisions. And there's no more reason, it seems to me, for investors and investment consultants and the asset management industry to be excused from the normal demands of humanity than the rest of us. Investing as science also takes you into benchmarking. Again, a slightly ludicrous concept, it's always seemed to me. It's ludicrous because it reduces investment down to the mathematics of deviation from a mean. And it's ridiculous, it seems to me, because it's, in a sense, it's the wealthy man's equivalent of relative poverty. So if we're really serious about doing something, it seems to me that we need to get rid of this idea of investing being a science. Thanks very much.